I need to take this back. Remote is there. Remote is here.
Alright, text 33. Ambastu yadreta udara vidyam Siddhanti jivanti utavardhamana Lokayato kila lokapalaha Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi The entire cosmic manifestation has emerged from water, and it is because of water that all living entities endure, live and develop. This water is nothing but the semen of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has such great potency, be pleased with us. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, it is from water that all living entities emerge. Right? We also find that in the theory of evolution also, they also say living entities come from water first. One Maharaj told me, Hanuman Prasad, not Hanuman Prasad, who's that? Umabhati Swami. He said that when he asked Prabhupada about the theory of evolution and so on, and Prabhupada said that Darwin stole from
Vedas.
the Vedas. And he understood about creation and all, so he got some information and he speculated on many things. So that's how Srila Prabhupada mentioned it. Anyway, there's no water. None of the living entities can survive in this world.
Okay, that's good.
Right? So water is a source of life for everyone. And Prabhupada says, by the grace of the Lord, we have so much water all over the world. Okay?
It's raining a lot in India.
It is raining a lot in India. It rains a lot in some places. In some places, it doesn't rain nowadays.
Yep.
As I said, according to the nature of the living entities, if they are sinful, the material nature, the planet Earth itself will withdraw some resources. So sometimes you'll get storms, sometimes you'll get droughts, like that, according to the sinful nature of the living entity. Now, in the beginning, remember we were trying to figure out whether Brahma, did he see or he didn't? Yeah. So I asked this morning, I was speaking with Hanuman Prasad Swami, and when he said, it's the way it is expressed by Prabhupada. It's not like Brahma didn't see. At that time when he came there, he didn't see him. So the sentence is written, but it gives a wrong understanding that he had never seen him. Yeah. It's not like that. When he's there, he couldn't see. So even in the word for word, it is like that he cannot see at that moment. Yeah. Alright, text 34. Somam mano yasya samamananti Divakasham yogalam anda ayu Isho naganam prajanam Prasidatam nasa mahavibhutihi. You notice also that every verse, the previous verse was about earth and then water, now it's about the moon. Soma, the moon, is the source of food grains, strength and longevity for all the demigods. He is also the master of all vegetation and the source of generation for all living entities. As stated by learned scholars, the moon is the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all opulences, be pleased with us. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada discusses about Soma, the predominating deity of the moon, is the source of food grains and therefore the source of strength even for the celestial beings, the demigods. He is the vital force for all vegetation. Unfortunately, modern so-called scientists who do not fully understand the moon describe the moon as being full of deserts. Since the moon is the source for our vegetation, how can the moon be a desert? Moonshine is the vital force for all vegetation, and therefore we cannot possibly accept that the moon is a desert. From our perspective, from the telescopes and all, they cannot see any vegetation there. So therefore they say it is a desert. There's no water, there's nothing like that. But according to Vedic understanding, moon is the source of the potency or the opulence for all the vegetation. So it makes nutrition in the vegetation. It gives that potency. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is questioning the scientist's theory. Yeah.
So what about sun? Isn't sun the source also?
Sun is also in the next verse, I think it discusses. It gives life also. Yeah. This is more like the strength and so on.
Juice.
In the Bhagavad Gita, he says, no, right? I am the moon. From the moon comes the juice for the vegetation. Text 35. Agni mukham yashyatu jata vedam.
Agni mukham yashyatu jata vedam.
Jata kriya kanda nimitta janma.
Jata kriya kanda nimitta janma.
Anta samudre nupachan swadatun.
Anta samudre nupachan swadatun.
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
Now he talks about the fire. Fire which is born for the sake of accepting oblations in ritualistic ceremonies is the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Fire exists within the depths of the ocean to produce wealth, and fire is also present in the abdomen to digest food and produce various secretions for the maintenance of the body. May that supremely powerful personality of God be pleased with us. Right? So it's in many places. Fire of sacrifice, we say it is the mouth of Vishnu or the tongue of Vishnu, some people say. So fire in the depths of ocean to produce wealth, wealth like pearls and other, what is that? Mother of pearl, different things like that. And then fire in the abdomen is
Jataragni.
Jataragni, yes. Digest food. Like that. Text 36. Yachakshurasi tarani devayanam.
Yachakshurasi tarani devayanam.
Trayimayo brahmana esha dishnyam.
Trayimayo brahmana esha visnyam.
Dwaram cha mukte amritam cha mrityu.
Dwaram cha mukte amritam cha mrityu.
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
Prasidatam na samaha vibhuti.
The sun god marks the path of liberation, which is called Achiradi Vartma. He is the chief source for understanding of the Vedas. He is the abode where the absolute truth can be worshipped. He is the gateway to liberation. And he is the source of eternal life as well as the cause of death. The sun god is the eye of the Lord. May that supreme Lord, who is supremely opulent, be pleased with us. Okay. So among the planets, the sun is considered to be the king of all planets. Okay. And in this verse from Brahma Samhita, right, it is said like that. Yachakshuresa savita sakala grahanam raja samasta suramurti asesha teja yashyatnaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamam bhajam. So he is also the cause of that, because he is riding the chariot of time, Remember, as the seasons move, because of the sun's circulating in the universe, so everything is moved forward. So mounting the wheel of time like that. So that is how he is, and he also guides people who to the next higher planetary system like that. Therefore, the sun is considered to be the eye, in the sense that no one can hide from him. Okay, you can. Therefore, he sees you, and so the Supreme Lord actually sees you. Yachakshu Asik. He can see you. Yachakshu Esa Savita. He is the Supreme God's facsimile, or how do you explain? He's like you can say, the camera within the planet. Even if you hide somewhere, the sun rays will come in still. He can see you. Sunlight. So you cannot hide from the Lord in that sense. And in the night, the moon also sees you. Like that. Text 37. Pranada buddhyasya characharanam prana sapo balam ojascha vayu anvasma samrajamivanu prasidatam na samahavibhuti. Now he's air. Okay. Pretty much like all the chief demigods and the elements. No? All living entities, moving and non-moving, receive their vital force, their bodily strength, and their very lives from the air. All of us follow the air for our vital force, exactly as servants follow an emperor. The vital force of air is generated from the original vital force of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. May that Supreme Lord be pleased with us. So this is like prana, life air. Sometimes people make from inanimate things, but there's no prana in it. There's no life force. And when they take chemicals and artificially make more chemicals, that chemical has no prana. But then they combine and make things to eat like that. Right? Now so many artificial products are there. So these are not really good for consumption because there's no prana there. But when you take fruits and vegetables from the ground that's growing, it has life force, it has nutrition. So therefore, it is better for us.
They say even the water which is still doesn't have life.
Yeah, it
When the
goes
water
away.
is flowing.
Yes, the pranam goes away. It stays for some time and then goes. So vital force of air is generated from the Lord Himself. Okay. Text 38. Srotradisho yasya ridaschakani
Srodradhiso yasya hidashakani
Prajajnirekam purushasya navya
Prajajnirekam purushasya navya
Pranendriyatmasu sharirакetaha
Pranendriyatmasu sharirакetaha
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi
Prasiddham na samaha vibhutihi.
May the supremely powerful personality of Godhead be pleased with us. The different directions are generated from His ears. The holes of the body come from His heart, and the vital force, the senses, the mind, the air within the body, and the ether, which is the shelter of the body, come from His navel. Text 39. Balan Mahendra Sridasha Prasadan
Balan Mahendra Stridasha Prasadan
Manyo Girisho Dishana Virinchaha
Manyo Girisho Dishana Virinchaha
Kebhyastu Chandam Sirishayo Midratakaha
Kebhyastu Chandam Sirishayo Medratakaha
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi
Prasiddhatam na samaha vibhutihi.
Now he talks about Lord Indra. Mahendra, the king of heaven, was generated from the prowess of the Lord. The demigods were generated from the mercy of the Lord. Lord Shiva was generated from the anger of the Lord, and Lord Brahma from his sober intelligence. Vedic mantras were generated from the bodily holes of the Lord, and the great saints and Prajapatis were generated from his genitals. May that supremely powerful Lord be pleased with us. In one sense, he's talking about the whole creations. Huh?
Is it not universal form?
Yeah, it's like that. The creation, how it is. Everyone is coming from. Text 40.
Now here, I mean, like in the material body, we need all these various organs to function.
Mm.
But the Lord has a spiritual body. Why these various organs are there?
Organs? He doesn't say organ.
Okay.
Yeah, he never says organs. He says they are generated from him, like that. He's saying it's from him. And that everything in the Lord is the same. Like Angani Yasya Sakya. So he has a form. He has all those features, but you cannot say separate organ. They're the same actually. He is his eyes. He is himself. He is his name.
And elsewhere we learn about Shiva.
Mm.
He has a special position.
Yes.
And here, Shiva
It's
seems
also
to be the same as Lord Brahma.
it appears that way, but it's not like that. Even though he is generated from Brahma's anger, which is actually coming from the Lord himself, but Lord Shiva is in a higher position. Yeah. Just like Krishna takes birth from Nanda and Devaki and right? Vasudeva. Doesn't mean that he is lesser than the parents. It's just Leela is like that. So similarly, Shiva seems to be taking birth from Brahma, but he's not equal. He's Shiva Tattva. He's like yogurt, which is milk, but not milk. So it's very similar to the Supreme Lord, almost like the Supreme Lord, but not. Text 40. Shivakshashapitaraschayayasam
Shivakshashapitaraschayayasam
Dharmastanaditara-pristato
Dharmasthanaditara Pristato
Dharyasya Shishno Apsaraso Vihara
Yo yasya Krishno apsaraso vihara
Prasidatam na samaha vibhuti.
prasidatam naha samaha vibhutihi.
Goddess of fortune was generated from his chest, inhabitants of Pitriloka from his shadow, religion from his bosom, and irreligion, the opposite of religion, from his back. The heavenly planets were generated from the top of his head, and the apsaras from his sense enjoyment. May that supremely powerful personality of Godhead be pleased with us. Same thing. Even in the second, third canto also, when right, he describes very similar things. Virat Rupa, yeah. Text 41. Vipro mukha brahmacharyasya guyam
Vipro mukhadham vachayasya guhyam
Rajanyasi bhujayo balam cha
Rajanyasya bhujayo balam cham
Purvidojom grihiraviga sutrao
Murmuridojo
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
prasidatam naha samaha vibhutihi.
The Brahmanas in the Vedic knowledge come from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Kshatriyas and bodily strength come from his arms. The Vaishyas and their expert knowledge in productivity and wealth come from his thighs. And the Shudras, who outside of Vedic knowledge, come from his feet. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is full in prowess, be pleased with us. Text 42. Lobo darat priti rupari abhudyuti
Lobodharatri nirupari abhudyutir
nasta pashavyash pashena kamaha
Nasya pasanya spashena kamaha
Bruvuyama pakshma bhavastu kalaha
Brahmoryamah pakshma bhavastu kala
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
Greed is generated from his lower lip, affection from his upper lip, bodily luster from his nose, animalistic lusty desires from his sense of touch, Yamaraj from his eyebrows, and eternal time from his eyelashes. May that Supreme Lord be pleased with us. Text 43. Dravyam vaya karma guna vishesham
Dravyam vaya karma guna vishesham
Yadyogamaya vihitan vadanti
Yadyogamaya vihitan vadanti
Yadurvibhavyam prabhudapapadam
Yadurvibhavyam prabhudapapadam
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
Prasidatam na samaha vibhutihi.
All learned men say that the five elements, eternal time, fruitive activity, the three modes of material nature, and the varieties produced by these modes are all creations of Yogamaya. This material world is therefore extremely difficult to understand. But those who are highly learned have rejected it. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of everything, be pleased with us. Again, the material energy is under Krishna's supervision. And that's how it is moving. In the purport, in the middle of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, we cannot even understand how the affairs within our body are systematically taking place. And he compares this body to a small universe. And since we cannot understand how things are happening in this small universe, how can we understand the affairs of the bigger universe? Right? The scientists actually cannot understand. They haven't gone to many places, but still with the telescope and the wavelength, light, and they kind of predict something. To some extent, they may be good, but predominantly they're just speculating. Just like recently, there's a if you look towards the east or more towards the southeast side, right? Then in the constellation, the night, there's the belt of Orion. So the brightest star in the belt of Orion is called a Betelgeuse, the star. It's very bright. But in the last few weeks, the star has suddenly gone dull. So then the scientists are saying it's going to explode. So everyone is saying, how do you know, But that's how it is. They say based on this and that. So that's like that. Materialists are very intelligent like that. They can figure some things out, but they cannot really say how it's actually working.
Isn't it that said that they can tell the beginning and the end, but they can just tell
Some things, but not everything, even in between also, right? So Prabhupada continues, actually this universe is very difficult to understand. Yet learned sages have advised, as Krishna has also advised, that this material world is dukkalayam ashashvat. That's the most important thing. Not so much trying to figure out how it is, how it operates so much. In other words, it is a place of misery and temporality. One must give up this world and go home back to the personality of God. Materialists may argue, if this material world and its affairs are impossible to understand, how can we reject it? The answer is provided by the word prabuddhapapadam. We have to reject this material world because it is rejected by those who are learned in Vedic wisdom. Even the Lord tells you to reject this place. So we have to understand like this. So it's very hard to understand. That's why it says Durvi Bhavyam, very difficult. Dur means difficult. Of course, at the end, Srila Prabhupada gives a summary. In the last sentence, although we cannot understand the functions of this material world, and whether it's for us or bad for us, in accordance with the advice of the Supreme Authority, we must reject it and go back home, back to God. So, if we accept the scriptures and Krishna, that's Prabhupada's advice is that we have to reject this place and get out.
Very convincing.
Uh-huh.
Very convincing.
Very convincing.
This is the first time he used the term reject. Previously, it was a miserable place, but now very categorically saying reject.
Yeah, because it's not our place. We shouldn't even think this is our place to live. That's why he says we have to start rejecting it. We're on the 8th canto, no?
Getting stronger.
But feel relaxed now then, even if you don't understand the 5th canto, it's all right. That's gives all the description about the different.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you don't understand it
The
properly.
5th canto.
You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it.
Because unless you're a scientist, it's not easy to understand.
Yeah, it's very difficult then. 5th canto.
Anyway, for Prabhupada wanted his scientist disciples to understand it and explain to other scientists, material scientists. Text 44. Namastu sasma upashanta shaktaye.
Namastu tasma upasanta saktaye.
Swarajya labha pratipuritatmane.
Swarajya labha pratipuritatmane.
Guneshu maya rachiteshu vrittibir.
Neshu maya rachiteshu vrittibir.
Sajjamana yana basvadut.
Na sajjamanaya nabasvadutaye.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is completely silent, free from endeavor, and completely satisfied by his own achievements. He is not attached to the activities of the material world through his senses. Indeed, in performing his pastimes in this material world, he is just like the unattached air. Again, the famous verse, Parashya Shakti Vividaiva Shruyate. It just happens by his desire. Everything is done systematically by his energies, Prabhupada says, and therefore he has nothing to do. Na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. As indicated here by the word upashanta shaktaye, his different energies act, but although he sets these energies in action, he himself has nothing to do He is not attached to anything, for he is the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, let us offer respectful obeisances unto him. In the what is that? Svetara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Lord is the controller of all other controllers, and he is the greatest of all the planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. And then all the entities are given some particular power by the Lord himself. But they are not supreme themselves. Okay? And so he becomes worshipable for all these demigods, and he directs all these demigods how to go about managing the universal affairs. And he is transcendental to all of these material leaders and controllers. And so therefore they always worship him. Just like you can see Brahma and the demigods are coming to ask him for help. So it says in the Svetara Upanishad, no one is greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. And then it says, Natasya karim karanam cha vidyate. He does not possess a body form like that of an ordinary living entity. There's no difference between his body
And so
and his soul. He is absolute. Okay? All his senses are transcendental. Angani asya shakalendu vidyamana. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other sense. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious. Parasya Shakti. And thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Okay, his will is taken care by his energies. But he has nothing to do with the material energy. That's how we understand that. He has nothing to do. He personally has nothing to do. Because personally, what is he doing?
Enjoying.
He is enjoying. Where is he enjoying?
The spiritual world.
Yes, in the spiritual world. He is enjoying. So therefore, Prabhupada says he himself has nothing to do. And he has not attached to anything. There's nothing for him to get from the material world. It's his inferior energy, Bahiranga Shakti. So he doesn't need to enjoy the Bahiranga Shakti. He has his own Antaranga Shakti, Hladini potency. So he's not interested in that at all, not at all. Why should he? And he indicates, right, he is Atmarama. Right? So Atmarama don't need anything material.
Self-satisfied.
Huh?
Self-satisfied.
Self-satisfied. Yeah. They don't need anything external. He has it everything. So that's another way to understand this. Yeah.
Prabhupada was explaining some point, and he said that kings like Bharat Maharaj, they renounced everything and were meditating upon the Supreme Lord. So how can the Supreme Lord's pastimes be materially motivated?
Yes.
It was such a big
Simple.
point, and he gave it so simply.
Yeah. So I think in the previous verses also he gives the same thing.
Yeah, so that's, his attachment is
Simply
also,
by chanting his holy name, how all these people are hearing Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev chanting and hearing, how can they get liberated? Or Jamil, right? Simply by saying Narayan, everything was good.
so that means his pastimes are spiritual.
Yeah, so it is. Everything about the Lord, connected to the Lord, is spiritual and it's transcendental. That's why we want to be connected to that transcendental aspect as much as possible. Right? We don't want to do it for some reason or not. We tend to not want to sustain that association with the Lord. Right? Each of us can see in our own life that we tend to want to do things. We know we should focus on Krishna, but yet it is so difficult. That's why opportunities that come about in devotional service for better association, we should grasp it. Develop. Then you will develop lowlium. Yes. Yeah. Initially, you may not have it, but as you go for this kind of things, the greed for spirituality comes. Take every opportunity. text 45. Satam no darshayatmanam asmad karanagocharam prakannanam didrikshunam shashmitam te mukham bhujam. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are surrendered unto you, yet we wish to see you. Please make your original form and smiling lotus face visible to our eyes and appreciable to our other senses. So he's now wanting to see the Lord. He's asking the Lord to manifest himself. Lord Brahma, previously Prabhupada said, from the Shastra he knows, from the Vedas he knows the Lord has a form. It's a person and he's beautiful. So he's asking to want to see. And Prabhupada says, the Lord has both impersonal and personal features. And we know that from the verse, Vadanti Tadvidam Tadvam Yakyanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti. So there are three features, and even learned sages have explained about this. So the Lord has both impersonal and personal features. But the impersonalists, they don't understand this. But you can see here from Brahma and all these demigods, they want to see the Lord. And they're saying, we want to see your original form and smiling lotus face. Okay. So that's very nice. Without a personal form, there can be, Prabhupada says, no question of a smiling face. Which is clearly indicated here by the words Shashmitam te mukham bhujam. Shashmitam, smitam, smiling. Those who are in the Vaishnava Sampradaya of Brahma always want to see the Supreme Personality of God here. They are eager to realize the Lord's personal feature, not the impersonal feature. As clearly stated here, Asmat Karana Gocharam. That means with their eyes they want to see the personal feature of the Lord can be directly perceived by our senses, right? And the Lord can allow us. How do we know? I know, but how do we know that He can allow us to see?
He gives a special.
How do we know?
To Arjuna.
Yes,
Arjuna gives that special.
from Arjuna, we know. He says, I can't. So the Lord said, I'll give you Divya Chakshus to see. So that's how we know the Lord can grant us that vision. Yeah. And then, if you develop love, then you have Premanjana. That's a different thing. But otherwise, the Lord can give us. He can. And we know the example of Arjuna. Text 46. Taistai Svecha Bhutai Rupai Kale Kale Swayam Vibhu Karma Durvishaham Yanmo Bhagavan Satkarotihi. O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, by your sweet will, you appear in various incarnations, millennium after millennium, and act wonderfully, performing uncommon activities that would be impossible for us. So Prabhupada explains why the Lord appears from 4.7. What is 4.8? What is 4.8? Paritranaya sadhanashaya iskritam dharma samstaranaya sambhavamiyate. So he comes for two reasons. One, to get rid of the demons, and by getting rid of demons, he re-establishes religious principles. And the other reason, the main reason he comes, is to give pleasure to his devotees. So all this he does by his sweet will, his own will. Nobody can force it. He does it because he wants to do it. And he comes in so many different incarnations. Rama di Murte Sukalani Yamena Tishtam, right? So like that. So devotees are always eager to see one of the Lord's innumerable forms. So every devotee who who worships the Lord is attracted to some form. And yourself, you will know, each of you, right? You will know which forms you are attracted to. So many parts of the world you tell, some people are attracted to Narsingade, some people are attracted to Kurma, some Matsya. There are devotees who like all those forms. And devotees like Krishna, Gopinath, right? Parthasarathi, so many different forms, like that. It is said that just as no one can count how many waves there are in the sea, no one can count the forms of the Lord. So infinite number. This does not mean, however, that anyone can claim to be a form of the Lord and be acceptable as an incarnation. So that answers your question you asked yesterday. The incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be accepted in terms of the descriptions found in the Shastras. Lord Brahma is eager to see the incarnation of the Lord or the original source of all incarnations. He's not eager to see an imposter. Right? So again, we have to not go and give someone credibility by visiting them. They claim, oh, I am some Shakti, I am this and that. But it's not in the scripture. Why we go even and give them some? By going, we give them some value. By ignoring him, we are not even. It's like, in one discussion, some people were talking to Prabhupada and they were starting to talk about some Mayavad guru. So Prabhupada said, I do not know him.
Swami who?
Yeah, he didn't even say Swami, I don't know. There's nobody. So totally he didn't give value at all. So we shouldn't give value also. So similarly, we should not be eager to see an imposter. Some imposters may have some siddhis, some power. That was many years ago in the 80s. I remember one so-called sadhu. He was, I think he was in Punjab. So he used to have effulgence from his body. So they will say, let's go, and then they will talk. Whatever sadhu says, because why? He's God. And I used to say, how do you know it's God? It's not in the scripture. They'll say, no, his body is effulgent. Say, when you turn off the light, you can see, and it's so wonderful, they say. So what are you happy about? The fact that he is effulgent and wonderful? Or is his teachings helping you get out of the cycle of birth and death? People are attracted. It's amazing. People can get attracted. Just like, card tricks. People can do card tricks. And you are fascinated. You're like, how is the guy doing, So similarly, when the persons have some siddhi, they can do some effulgence from their body. And then you are like, wow, he must be special. Most he can do is save electricity. But we are not interested in that. Okay? We don't need to worry about that. But how much electricity can you produce? Right? Just like this, that one sadhu in India, they were worshipping, he would produce tiny, tiny specks of gold. So then, what is the value of that tiny gold? Why don't you produce a mountain of Mount Sumera? Right or not? Sumeru.
Yeah.
So giving little bit and then saying, I'm God? Nonsense. What kind of God are you? Mostly he gives ashes. That's all I know. That's all nonsense. So here, it's very important. Prabhupada's point is we should not be eager to see an imposter. We should ignore them. We already have our understanding from Srila Prabhupada. That's it. There's no other personalities who are going to come until Kalki. Right? The next incarnation is Kalki. That's at the end of this Yuga. Okay. So all the incarnations, Prabhupada says, one thing before that, he says incarnations activities are proof of his identity. That means his superhuman activities, not ordinary simple activities. All the incarnations described in the Shastras act wonderfully. Keshava Drita Meena Sharira Jaya Jagadesha Hari. It is only by the personal sweet will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that he appears and disappears, and only fortunate devotees can expect to see him face to face. So you have to become fortunate. To become fortunate, you have to be with devotees who carry the Lord in their hearts. Swantastena gadavrita. So, advanced devotees, you have to get in touch with them, serve them. In that way, they will allow you to see him by their grace, by their mercy. So again, goes back to spiritual master, service to spiritual master. Because they're traveling so many places and they're convincing people to take up the process. They convince because they carry the Lord in their hearts. Like so. And by being there, the other person gets purified by their mercy. So that is how we also become fortunate, by preaching and taking good association and service. Text 47. Kleshaburi alpasarani
Keshaburi alpasarani
karmani vipalani va
karmani vifalani va
dehinam vishayartanam
dehinam shayathanam
tattaivarpitam tvayi.
natataivarpitam tvayi.
Karmi is always anxious to accumulate wealth for their sense gratification. But for that purpose, they must work very hard. Yet even though they work hard, the results are not satisfying. Indeed, sometimes their work results only in frustration. But devotees who have dedicated their lives to the service of the Lord can achieve substantial results without working very hard. These results exceed the devotees' expectations. Of course, devotees work hard anyway, but they don't think that they are working very hard. Now, all of us have gone through working so hard, and then at the end, we are not satisfied. Right? You work hard, they will say you did such an excellent job, you are a model worker for the company, but I am so sorry we can't give you the raise. I really want to give you so much, but I'll only give you 200 this time. You have to adjust across the company. So that's how they talk. There's nonsense. Huh?
This is the best we can give.
Yeah, this is the best we can give. You can't say anything. You say anything, next time you won't even get it.
That's what happens.
So you just put your tail between your legs and walk out. Right? So it's better sometimes to actually work for yourself.
Yeah.
That way you won't be so frustrated. At least you know why you're not getting the result. Right? You don't put in the effort, you don't get it. You put in effort, you get it. So that way you're much more satisfied. In any case, one of the important thing is you should understand that all this enjoyment or sense gratification is also very temporary. So we shouldn't be working hard for temporary happiness. Become very intelligent. If you want to work, just do like consulting. That's the best. They call you and say, "I'll charge so much." And if they really need you, they need you, then you say so much, and I won't work for so many days. I'll give you the information, then you have to pay so much. So then they will be very careful. They won't disturb you also. But that's how you should be a consultant. You become so good that you don't have to work. They will come looking for you, and then you say, "This is how much it will cost. My time is valuable. You want or not?" Right? Mm-hmm. You have to control your life like that. Otherwise, they will buy you with the money, and you don't want to be bought with the money, right? You don't want them to control you. As soon as they control you, then your life is miserable. Right? Middle of the night, they'll call you and say, "Why is this not happening? Why is that not online or this?" Right? It's so difficult like that. So then Prabhupada also says that we can practically see, he talks about the whole movement and devotees like that. We can practically see how the devotees who have dedicated their lives for the service of the Lord in the Krishna consciousness movement are getting immense opportunities for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without working very hard. What does he mean by without working very hard?
Materially.
Huh? Yes?
Without overall
Working materially hard.
Yeah, not like materially, they will stay up late, do so many things just for, paisa.
Someone.
Like that. Yeah. Like that. So not like that. Yeah. They work hard for the Krishna or his servant, the spiritual master. Yeah. The Krishna consciousness movement actually started with only 40 rupees. That's how much he had. But now it has more than 40 crores worth of property, and all this opulence has been achieved within 8 or 10 years. Prabhupada can say that. But he's not proud. He's saying, you don't have to work so hard. Just chant and be happy. No karmi can expect to improve his business so swiftly. Besides that, whatever a karmi acquires is temporary and sometimes frustrating.
Yeah.
Right? In Krishna consciousness, however, everything is encouraging and improving. So that is one of the things you all should remember. What you do in devotional life should make you feel encouraged and should see yourself making improvement. Okay? So bear in your mind that whoever you deal with also, you should be encouraging to them and encourage them to improve also. So they also feel happy like that. If they don't chant 16 rounds, they'll say, I only chanted 4 rounds. You say, hey, that's good. That's good you did that. But if it's your friend, then you can say, you rascal, why you not chanting? But if someone new, they're trying first time, then it should be encouraging. Yeah. Krishna consciousness movement is not very popular with the karmis because this movement recommends that one refrain from illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. These are restrictions that karmis very much dislike. So that's one of the reasons very few people come and take up the process. Manusyanam sasveshu kaschit is very rare, very few, very rare. Nonetheless, in the presence of so many enemies, this movement is progressing, going forward without impediments. We may face impediments every now and then, but generally it's growing. Albeit not as fast as we want to, right? If the devotees continue to spread this movement, so we have to take the opportunity to spread the movement. It doesn't grow on its own. Dedicating life and soul to the lotus feet of Krishna. So retire and dedicate your life to the lotus feet of Krishna. No one will be able to check it because everyone will be a force. The movement will go forward without limits. And then finally he says, chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Right? He is giving us the faith, you can do it. Chant Hare Krishna.
So sometimes people quit their job and dedicate, but then they don't know what to do. They may go to one aarti, they may give one class, and then the whole day is empty.
So the leaders should engage them properly. If someone wants to retire and join full time, also we should have an idea, right? How to engage this person 24/7. Otherwise, as you said, what am I doing?
I met one of my godfather who gave up everything. Then I went and met him. I said, what do you do? I don't do anything. I just do aarti and I sit in one corner like that. And for 2 hours, we just sat and we had nothing to do really. We were just sitting there.
It becomes frustrating after a while because we are not purified enough to just sit and meditate or chant for 26 hours like that. Not like that possible. So therefore we should engage them. That is one of the reasons why Prabhupada made them go out, books, go around Harinam, go around preaching. So
this is also the local leadership which has to engage.
So the leaders should tell him, okay, go out and do something. Otherwise, he'll feel unhappy after a while. He'll pack and go back. He'll go back to work.
I heard that later on he started driving Uber.
Yeah, that's what I mean. X48. Navama karma kalpopi
Kalpopi
Vifala Yeshwararpitaha
Vifala Yeshwararpitaha
Kalpate Purushashaiva
Kalpate Purushaiva
Sahi Atma Dayito Hitaha
Sahyatma Dalito Hitaha.
Activities dedicated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even if performed in small measure, never go in vain. Huh? What is that? Swalpam Abhyasya Dharmasya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being the Supreme Father, is naturally very dear and always ready to act for the good of the living entities. So again, important things to know. He is naturally very dear and always ready to act for the good of the living entities. But we have to do our part, right? Our part so that he knows we are sincere. Then there's always a relationship with him. Otherwise, it doesn't manifest. So Prabhupada says there are many instances in the history where even a small service has saved the living entity. And he quotes the example of Ajamil. He says Ajamil, for example, was saved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the greatest danger, that was of going to hell.
Prabhupada quoted Ajamil almost 3 times already.
Yeah.
In the last 2 days we were hearing.
He was saved simply because he chanted the name Narayana at the end of his life. Ante Narayana Smriti. That's what Prabhupada is trying to say. At the end of life, Ante Narayana Smriti. One has to come to the point of remembering Narayana. We should remember Narayana, otherwise we will remember who?
Maya.
Maya or
Yamaraj.
Dehapatya Kalatradeshu Atma Sannyesha Asat Sapi. Right? Thinking of your family members, children, and
Fallible family members.
fallible family. Even though he can see, Pashyan api na pashyati. Even though he can see, he doesn't understand the inevitable destruction that comes.
Although here, Ajamil was remembering his family member, Narayan.
But he was chanting Narayana.
Yes.
Yeah, and then he remembers after that.
Yes.
If you're right, but the whole idea is one should remember Narayan. He was not offensive towards the devotional practice, or he didn't chant offensively also.
He was in the second stage, Nama.
He was doing Namabhas, but by chanting for so many years, his sin was almost cleared. So just a little bit. So therefore he got the opportunity to go back. So who comes when he chants?
Vishnu Dutta.
Vishnu Dutta. And when he comes, 4 personalities come, right? And again, who's that? Vrindavan Das Thakur says these 4 personalities are, not Vrindavan, Sanatan Goswami also writes that these 4 personalities are Mahajans. Yeah, because they already know the religious principles. And so they speak the philosophy with the Yamaduttas. Right? So Prabhupada says if you can remember Narayana at the end of life, somehow or other, Prabhupada says, if one somehow or other remembers the holy name of Narayan, Krishna, or Rama at the end of life, he immediately achieves the transcendental result of going back home, back to God. So remember, I told you, right, a friend of mine who was in an operating theater, and then his heart stopped, and then for like 6 minutes. So he said he was seeing all his life from the time he was born. And he was going on, and suddenly he woke up. So then one of the Swamis, when he later on asked, did you stop at any place? He said, no. Then he said, that's good. Because later on, his young age, he wasn't a devotee, but he began devotee later on. So he said, maybe when that devotional life was what's coming next. And also you should prepare.
Stop as in his thinking, he stops somewhere.
It's coming, the whole vision of his whole life is passing. So did it stop at one stage, or were you attracted to one of those things?
Oh, okay, that means he's stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
He keeps going.
Yeah, he was going when he woke up, he said. So similarly, we shouldn't have any attachments. Otherwise, we'll stop. Hey, wait. Move it back. I want to see this scene again. So we don't want to see any scenes. Right. So Prabhupada says he immediately achieved the transcendental result of going back home, back to God. So our only object of love is Krishna. We have so many desires to fulfill in this world, right? Even right? Today, how many things you wanted to fulfill, right? Then we can understand why is it I'm not thinking of Lord so much, But if we can come into this process seriously and take it up, then we can immediately become perfect and fully satisfied. Prabhupada uses the example of a child, maybe unhappy or crying, but when he comes into the lap of the mother, he becomes very happy, satisfied. Then he quotes Dhruva Maharaj, who went to the forest to achieve some material result by austerity and penance. But when he actually saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said, I do not want any material benediction. I am completely satisfied. So that's a very important point to understand. He wanted bigger kingdom than his grandfather. But when he got to see the Lord, immediately he understood this is a waste of my time. But then the Lord said, it's okay, since you desire, and I am pleased with you, I want you to enjoy. 36,000 years he enjoys material opulence. Right? So we cannot think like that. Oh, I will also practice like Dhruva Maharaj. No, it doesn't work. Right? So whatever our material desire, again Prabhupada quotes this Akama Sarva Kama. So this like 6 or 7 times.
Continuously, almost every other purport.
His point is always keep worshipping. Don't go to the demigods. Don't go to Bhutas, Pishashi, worship. Don't worship Amitabh Bachchan. Stuff like that. There is a temple in Bombay of Amitabh Bachchan. So you can see how fallen people are becoming. Text 49. Yatahi skanda shakanam Narormula vasechanam Evam Aradhanam Vishnu Sarvesham Atmanaschahi. When one pours water on the root of a tree, the trunk and branches of the tree are automatically pleased. Similarly, when one becomes a devotee of Lord Vishnu, everyone is served, for the Lord is the super soul of everyone. If you become a devotee of Krishna, you will go out to help others people. You bring auspiciousness to others. So everyone is served. By serving the devotee, you also place Krishna. Like that. Because the Lord is the super soul of everyone. Now in the Padma Purana, Srila Prabhupada quotes the verse from there. This is a famous verse and you all should know this verse. Right? Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadyanam samarchanam. Okay, try to memorize. This is good for your preaching. Right? It's the best. The best worship is a devotee. Of all types of worship of Vishnu is best. So first of all, you tell them that. And better than worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of his devotees, the Vaishnavas. And Prabhupada says people want to worship all these demigods and they don't want to worship Vishnu because people are embarrassed by so many material desires. They don't want to worship Vishnu. Now, if you worship Vishnu for something material, what happens?
He may or may not give it.
He may or may not give it.
based
Or
on
he will
whether it's
give
good
it
for us
after
or not.
purifying.
Yeah, generally he purifies you before he gives
Yes.
you.
So that
So Prabhupada says you can achieve all these material desires simply by worshipping Vishnu. And then he quotes the fourth canto. Again, it is connected to this particular verse, text 49. The fourth canto verse also is very similar. Just by pouring water on the root of tree, one nourishes its trunk and all its branches, fruits, and flowers. And just by supplying food to the stomach, one satisfies all the limbs of the body. Similarly, by worshipping Lord Vishnu, one can satisfy everyone. So then he talks about our movement. Krishna consciousness is not a sectarian religious movement. Rather, it is meant for all embracing welfare activities for the world. He says welfare activities because connecting them to the Supreme Lord is the greatest welfare activity. Okay? One can enter this movement without discrimination in terms of caste, creed, religion, or nationality. If one is trained to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the origin of Vishnu Tattva, one can become fully satisfied and perfect in all respects. Completely satisfied. You don't have any other agenda, so to speak. Your concern is Krishna happy? Are the devotees happy? Is my spiritual master pleased with me? Am I doing what he wants like that? Am I following properly? Like that. So all your thought is always on pleasing the devotees, particularly the spiritual master. And then you become very satisfied. Text 50. Namastubhyam anantaya
Namastubhyam
Anantaya
durvitarkyatma karmane
Durvakatmasmakarmane
nirgunaya guneshaya
Nirgunaya Gunishaya
sattvastaya cha sampratam.
Sarvastaya cha Sampritam.
My Lord, all obeisances unto you, who are eternal, beyond time's limits of past, present, and future. You are inconceivable in your activities. You are the master of the three modes of material nature, and being transcendental to all material qualities, you are free from material contamination. You are the controller of all three of the modes of nature. But at the present, you are in favor of the quality of goodness. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Okay, he's always transcendental to the three modes. And of course, to control them in this material world or universe, he empowers Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva to control the mode of passion and ignorance, and he personally comes with Lord Vishnu to take charge of Sattva Guna. Okay? But he is actually the source of all these gunas. He is a controller. However, Prabhupada writes, however, as Lord Brahma has previously described, since the time of Sattva Guna had now arrived, the demigods could naturally expect to fulfill their desires because they are now approaching Krishna. The demigods are supposedly well advanced in knowledge, yet they could not understand the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord is addressed here as Anantaya. Although Lord Brahma knows past, present, and future, he is unable to understand the unlimited knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Brahma knows by approaching the Lord, all their problems will be sorted or fixed. Because they suffer in the three modes, particularly they are in the mode of goodness. And they know because they are in the mode of goodness, the Lord will listen to them. That's another reason. Okay? And they also know the Lord will support them because the demons are causing unbalance in the universe. That is another reason. Okay. So these are the prayers, appeal for the Lord for protection. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 8th canto, 5th chapter, the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Demigods Appeal to the Lord for Protection. Now, which Manvantara is this? Which Manu?
Sixth.
What's his name?
Namasa.
No.
Fifth.
David.
Raivat.
Raivata.
Yeah. You remember Raita?
Annamaya platform.
Yeah.
Gajendra prayed in 32 verses and went back to water. These devotees prayed 50 verses.
Now you're doing mathematical calculation.
No, I'm saying they're like personality, they got associated, they prayed with the Lord and gone.
Yeah.
These are like all they have to sing the air, fire,
Yeah, that's
ether.
right. So here the Lord will appear to the demigods and he will give them the advice and and he'll tell them you can go and chant and then they get the
Hala.
help of the
Shiva.
Lord Shiva, they get the help
Demigods.
of Vasuki, they get help of the mountain.
Yeah.
And then they also, again, the Lord will say, okay, I'll come and be the mountain, Matkurma,
Platform.
yeah, like that. So quite a lot of things will happen. Of course, then the Lord also, I've heard, I don't know whether it is, the Lord tells the demigods not to hold Vasuki's head, to hold his tail. So, because when they pull, Vasuki will breathe the poison, so it goes on the demons. Anyway, text 1. Sri Sukha Vacha Evam Stuta Suragane
Evam Stuta Suragane
Bhagavan Harishvara
Bhagavan Harishvara
Ishama Vira Budrajan
Ekshama Buddhajan
Sahasra Kodayadyuti.
Sahasra Kodayayati.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, being thus worshipped with prayers by the demigods and Lord Brahma, appeared before them. His bodily effulgence resembled the simultaneous rising of thousands of suns. So where have you read that?
11th chapter of
Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter. Text 2. Tenaiva sahasa sarve deva pratihatte kshanaha
Devavati Prakshana
na pasyankam disha kshonim atmanam cha kuto vibhum. The vision of all the demigods was blocked by the Lord's effulgence. Thus they could see neither the sky, the directions, the land, nor even themselves. What to speak of seeing the Lord who was present before them. Also in the Ishopanishad, no?
Yeah.
Hiranmaya.
Hiranmaya. Say, please remove so I can see you. So it's like that. So effulgent, because that's the natural, his natural existence is that. The jiva also is self-effulgent, also, but he is very minute. It's like a spark.
Like that, the man in the 80s was self-effulgent.
Man, they
Some saint in the 80s was saying that, on fraud.
Fraud?
For some effulgence, right? You were saying.
yeah, in India, Punjab. So they could not see anything. It was so bright. Huh? Just like you sometimes walk on the street at night and they have high beam, right? So then you can't see anything. So it was like that. The Lord has had his high beam on you. Text 3 to 7. Virincho Bhagavan Drisva
Virincho Bhagavan Drishtva
Saha Sarvena Tantanum
Sarvena Tantanum
Swacham Marakata Shamam
Swacham Marakata Shyamam
Kanjagarbarunikshanam
Kanjagarbhadunekshanam
Taptahema Vadatena
Taptahema Vadatena
Lasat Kausheya Vasasa
Lashat Kausheya Vasasa
Prasannacharu Sarvangim
Prasannacharu Sarvangim
Kim Sundara Brubam
Sungem Sundarabhuvam
Mahamani Kiritena
Mahamani Kiritena
Keyurabhyam Chabhusitam
Keyurajam Sabhushitam
Karnabarana Nirbhata
Karnavarana Nivata
Kapola Shri Mukambujam
Kapola Srimukambujam
Kanchikalapa Valaya
Kanchikalapa Valaya
Aranupura Sobhitam
Aranupura Shobhitam
Kostubhabaranam Lakshmin
Kaustubharanam Lakshmim
Vipratim Vanamalinim
Vipratim Vanamalinim
Sudarshanadivi Swastre
Sudarshanadili Swaste
Murtimadve Upasitam
Murtimadvirupasitam
Tustavadeva Pravaraha
Tustavadeva Pravaraha
Sasharva Purusham Param
Sasharva Purusham Param
Sarvamaraganai Sakam
Sarvamaraganeshakam
Sarvanga Ravanim Gatai.
Sarvangeravanим Gatai.
Okay, so it's a description of the Lord. Okay, there's many descriptions of the Lord, so this is one of the descriptions. Brahma, along with Lord Shiva, saw the crystal clear personal beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Crystal clear, no blemish, pure, whose blackish body resembles a Marakata gem. Blackish body means Shama here. Okay, that means like the rain cloud.
So why is it that in some temples then Krishna is depicted as in the white marble they carve him?
That's accepted.
It's okay.
Nothing wrong. Just marble. The marble, they get black marble, they will do black form, but sometimes they can't. So they do.
White marble.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Marakata gem. I do not know what Marakata gem is, but it's obviously must be blackish gem. Whose eyes are reddish like the depths of a lotus. Allah has reddish eyes. Not like our eyes that get red, His is beautiful red. When you don't sleep, you're drunk, not like that. It's very attractive, very beautiful. If you have seen red lotuses, lotus, you can look at it. You can at least get an idea, because the color of the Lord is transcendental color. You can't really compare with some mundane color in this world. So whatever the description is, they are trying to show you as close as possible. Like that. Who is dressed with garments that are yellow like molten gold. Molten gold is yellow or what?
Gold is yellow.
When it's molten and it's liquid.
Shiny.
Huh?
Metal.
Very shiny, like the lightning like that. Okay, so sometimes it is described that his cloth is like a lightning. Yeah, if you read in the scripture, right? Yeah, so it's like that. And whose entire body is attractively decorated. It's just simply outstandingly beautiful. They saw his beautiful, smiling, lotus-like face, crowned by a helmet. So he wears a crown. Mostly people like to put turban. Bedecked with valuable jewels. The Lord has attractive eyebrows. It is like a bow. His eyebrows are like a bow. So when he looks at the gopis, he's firing arrows at them. So the Kama Gayatri is like that. If you understand the Kama Gayatri, you chant, that's what it is. Shooting arrows at the gopis. And his cheeks are adorned with earrings. The earring is pretty large, probably. What kind of earring is it? Yes, makara. Some people say shark. That's it. Fish. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva saw the belt on the Lord's waist. He also has a belt. So if you dress the deities, Make sure you put the belt and not let him stand without a belt. And then the bangles on his arms. So he wears bangles also. So don't leave the Lord without bangles. Okay. A necklace on his chest. So make sure he has a nice necklace. If it's a long necklace, you can also put a choker. Most people don't know what choker is. They think choker is only like that. No, choker can be also up to here.
Second.
Close and then long like that. Yeah. All right. And then
Ankle belts.
and then a necklace on his chest and the ankle bells on his leg. So also make sure he has ankle bells. Yeah. The Lord is bedecked with flower garlands. So fresh flower garlands we should offer every day. His neck is decorated with the Kostuba gem. Okay. And he carries with him the goddess of fortune and his personal weapons. So Sri Vatsa. And then the personal weapons like his disc and club. When Lord Brahma, along with Lord Shiva and other demigods, saw the form of the Lord, they all immediately fell to the ground offering their obeisances. He's so wonderful, so beautiful, they also automatically fall down. Text 8. Again, Brahma now is going to offer this.
So yesterday you mentioned some form doesn't have Shivatsa. What is that? What was that form?
That is Vishnu Dutas.
But otherwise
The associates of Narayan in Vishnu, they don't have Srivatsa.
Sarupya, but
That's how you know he is the personality God. Because everyone looks the same.
first look at that before that.
Anyway, they all know who is who. We may not know. It's like you go to a country where they all look very similar, then you think they all look the same. But they all can look, you think like that, but you know, when they come to Punjab, they all look like you, you know. Yeah. That's what it is. So we shouldn't think like that. Anyway. Yeah, so in Vaikuntha, that's how they know he's the Supreme Lord. If you go to Vaikuntha and then you look around, you know this is God. He has a Srivatsa. Text 8. Shri Brahmo Vacha
Shri Brahmo Vacha
Ajata Janma Sthiti Samyaya Samyamaya Gunaya Nirvana Sukadnavaya Manoranine Pariganya Damne Mahanubhavaya Namo Namaste. Brahma said, although you are never born, your appearance and disappearance as an incarnation never cease. You are always free from the material qualities and you are the shelter of transcendental bliss resembling an ocean. Eternally existing in a transcendental form, you are the supreme subtle of the most extremely subtle. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, the supreme whose existence is inconceivable. So the spirit is subtle, matter is gross. So he is finer than the most subtlest element that you can even think of. So fine.
It says in the 8th chapter, no, he's smaller than the smallest and bigger, greater than the greatest.
Yes.
So small that he can even enter the heart. He's even in the hearts of the demigods.
Yes.
Or living
entity.
Living.
Where is that so they can read?
8th chapter, it's the 8th or 9th verse.
Okay. Purport. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada again quotes similar verse, but this time he also highlights 4.6, which where he says his form is transcendental. Ajopi san abhijatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swam adhistaya sambhavami atma maya. Atma maya. That's it. My original transcendental form. And then the reason why he advanced is, as we discussed earlier, because there is some problems with the dharma situation. unscrupulous persons, they cause havoc, not performing religious activities. So the Lord will personally come, or He will send a powerful associate to help out in setting things back to normal. Just like in Kali Yuga, the Lord sent so many of His associates. Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Vishnu Swami, and then He sent
Srila Prabhupada.
Nimbarka, yeah. And then Mahaprabhu himself finally came. And then after that, the Lord saw that still we are suffering so much. Then He sent Prabhupada. Right? Because when Mahaprabhu came, He says He will only go to the home of Lakshapati. Right? Lakshapatis are people who
Chant 1
chant
lakh per day.
64 rounds, a lakh a day. And then so we are so fallen. We can't do that. So then Prabhupada came. Then He cut it to 25%. You chant 25%, but do everything 75, minimum 75%. Devotional practice, everything. Do it sincerely. So that's how the Lord comes. Huh? Either He comes personally or sends some powerful associate to help us. Okay? And He's not like us. When He comes here, He doesn't do ordinary activity like us. But when He does, He sets a example. Like in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, He does it so to set as an example. He says, Arjuna, if I do not do these activities, then it will only create chaos
Disturbance in the society.
and Varna Shankara. Like that. So He is not forced to come. That's the other thing. We shouldn't think He's like us. No, He's not. He's not at all. All right? Get that idea in from your head. Don't think the Lord is taking birth like us. No, get it out of your head. Yeah. He's free of all this. He comes out of His own sweet will. Yeah. Prabhupada says the word Apariganya Damne is very significant. There is no limit to the Lord's appearance in different incarnations. All of these incarnations are eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Okay. He's just coming to help us only. If you think about it, it's just sad, because we don't want to go back. Right? How many, in one day of Brahma, how many times he's coming? Right?
The entire Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah. And then again he comes again the next day. So many times when we are still like, not convinced yet. Huh?
Let me finish something.
Huh?
Let me finish something.
Yeah, I got something else to do. One moment, egg moment. It's kind of sad when you think about it. Next 9. Rupam Tavaita Purusha Rishabhejam
Rupam Tavaita Purushasya Bhejam
Shreyorti Dirvaidika Tantrikena
Seyortidirvaidikatantrikena
Yogena Data Sahanastri
Yogena Data Sahanastriloka
Pashyami Musmin Uha Vishwamurtau
Pashyamyamusmin Yuha Vishwamurtau.
O best of persons, O Supreme Director, those who actually aspire for supreme good fortune worship this form of your Lordship according to the Vedic Tantras. My Lord, we can see all the 3 worlds in you. So, good fortune means you get
Worship this form of yoga.
yeah, here in this context is you can work. Good fortune for us means we can worship Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, and ultimately Shri Radha and Krishna. So the other point Srila Prabhupada wants to highlight is in the first paragraph when Brahma says, we can see three worlds in you. Prabhupada quotes from the Mundaka Upanishad saying, Yasmin Vijnati Sarvam Evam Vijnatam Bhavati. When the devotee sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his meditation, when he sees the Lord personally face to face, he becomes aware of everything within this universe. That's what Prabhupada is trying to do. Indeed, nothing is unknown to him. So sometimes, when you are a pure devotee, sometimes people think you know everything. In one sense, yes. If you need to know, Krishna will allow you to. So well, I was told that one time some devotees went and asked Prabhupada, what about this and that? The Prabhupada said, I do not know. Go to the Gaudiya Math and ask them. So then they say, Prabhupada, you're pure devotee, you should know everything. He said, it's not like that. He said, if I need to know, Krishna will allow me to know. But otherwise, there's no need. There's no need.
So I asked Maharaj, Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj,
Yeah.
what is the meaning of the word Srila? Why do we call Srila Prabhupada? So when I asked him, what is the meaning of the word Srila? What does it mean? He said Srila means one who has seen all the Leelas of the Lord.
It's possible. It's a
So that's why.
honorific, right?
Yeah,
Shri
in
is
Bengali. Is it? How does it come? Srila means?
No, Srila is different meaning actually.
Respect
What I
Srila's
heard was
Honor.
Or is it English?
Srila.
Shri, no, Shri Leela is different. I do not know. But I thought Shri referring to like
Lakshmi Devi.
Lakshmi Devi.
Yeah.
But this makes sense what Prabhupada is saying. No, one who knows Krishna knows everything.
Yeah,
Prabhupada knew everything
yeah,
in one
that's
sense.
true. One who takes shelter, one who has the mercy of Shri. You can say like that. So yeah, in that sense, he also knows the Leela. Okay. He has the mercy of Srimati Radharani. He definitely knows everything. Okay. So everything in the material world can be manifested to the devotee, but not like the way we think. We cannot think, oh, he's like Google or encyclopedia like that. He knows everything. Not like that. When they need to know, they can do. At the same time, what does he know? He knows the spiritual knowledge to take you back to Godhead. That he knows very well. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, we should approach the spiritual master and serve him. So here, Brahma, who is also a self-realized authority, Swayambhur is referring to Brahma. Okay. Now,
No, Manu, right?
no, Swayambhu is the firstborn. Then the Manu is after Kapila. Okay. The Swayambhu Manu is yeah. Swayambhu means the firstborn.
Yeah,
Firstborn
before
means
Narada,
yes. And right, yeah. Okay. All right. Here the word Vishwamurta indicates that everything exists in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One is able to worship Him, can see everything in Him, and see Him in everything. Right? A pure devotee sees Samadarshana like that. He can see the Lord in the hearts of everything. Extend. Tvai agrasi, tvai madhya asi,
Tvai agrahase, tvai madhyase,
tvai anta asi, didamatma tantre.
Tvayantase hidamatmatantre,
Madiranto jagatosya madhyam,
Brahmadiranto jagatosya madhyam,
gatasya vritsneva paraparasma.
Gadasya vrisneva haraparasma.
My dear Lord, who are always fully independent, this entire cosmic manifestation arises from you, rests upon you, and ends in you. Your Lordship is the beginning, sustenance, and end of everything, like the earth, which is the cause of an earthen pot, which supports the pot, and to which the pot, when broken, finally returns. Okay. Text 11, Tvammayayatmasrayaya swayedam
त्वं माययास्माश्रयया स्वयेद्यम्
Nirmaya Visvam Taranu Pravishtaha
निर्माय विश्वं तदनुप्रविष्टः
Pasyanti Yukta Manasa Manisino
पश्यान्ति युक्ता मनसा मनीषिणो
Guna Vyavaye Piya Gunam Vipaschita
गुणव्यवायेऽपि अगुणं विपश्यताम्.
O Supreme, you are independent in yourself and do not take help from others. Through your own potency, you create this cosmic manifestation and enter into it. Those who advance in Krishna consciousness are fully in knowledge of the authoritative Shastra and who, through the practice of Bhakti Yoga, are cleansed of all material contamination, can see with clear minds, although you exist within the transformations of the material qualities, the presence is untouched by these qualities. Okay. So the Lord can appear in this material world, but the material nature does not affect him, does not touch him, have no influence on him. He doesn't mix with it. When he comes in his original form. Okay, not that he takes some covering. Like Mayavadis, they think like that. So we shouldn't think like that also. It's offensive to think like that. Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warns, therefore we should never think the Lord also takes some body, some kind of form. No, spiritual, completely transcendental. So this material energy is different from him. It is actually his energy to hold us, to rectify us. This energy is created to keep us here so that we learn the lessons. We learn to actually serve the Supreme Lord in this material. Understand that we are part and parcel and to serve him. Okay? And he is in everything. So every atom, within the atom, outside the atom, the Lord is everywhere. In that way, he is existing within the transformations of the material qualities. But yet, even though he's inside the atom, he is not affected. It's inconceivable. That's what it is. Yeah. Just like all this plastic, everything, all this has form and is able to sustain itself because of the presence of the Lord. If the Lord is not in there, this whole thing will just collapse. There is no existence. Okay. Text 12. Yatagnimedyasi amritam cha goshu bhuvi anamam buddhyamane cha vrittim yoger manusya adiyanti hi tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti. As one can derive fire from wood, milk from the milk bag of the cow, food grains and water from the land, and prosperity in one's livelihood from industrial enterprises, so by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, even within this material world, one can achieve your favor or intelligently approach you. Those who are pious all affirm this. Okay. So here the pious means those who are devotees, who practice devotional service. Not just any piety kind of person. That's not what it means. It means bhakti piety. Those who have practiced Bhakti Yoga from many births, they will attest to this or affirm this. Okay. So just like the example, you get when the wood is dry, the potential to burn and fire is there. So similarly, the bhakti, sadhana bhakti has the potential to bring our devotion to Krishna. At the same time, it will connect us with Krishna, and Krishna would want to help us also. But all this can only happen through the mercy of the spiritual master. So Prabhupada says, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. So to begin that, we have to have the blessings of the spiritual master. Okay? So by their blessing, then we can perform Krishna Bhakti. And after that, of course, when you do it properly, then the Lord will allow you to see Him. As you were saying earlier, Premanjana, Shuriti, Bhakti, Vilochana. So He allows you to see Him. No other method, not by karma, not by jnana, not by yoga, mystic yoga. Okay, so it's not anything like that. What is that? Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami Shakale Ashanta. Krishna Bhakti Nishkama Ataiva Shanta. Like that. So any other process, they are disturbed because it is selfish motivated. Bhakti is selfless. You become selfless. When you practice Bhakti Yoga, you should become selfless. You should think for others, connecting with Krishna. You should pray for others like that. So again he reaffirms, Srila Prabhupada, and he quotes again this verse so many times, Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavamyascha smita. Through Bhakti, you will understand in truth the position of your existence and Krishna. Okay. All right. Then he continues in the next paragraph. So many things he's comparing, like friction. We discussed this to some extent. Prabhupada says, although in this age men can live up to 100 years, their duration of life is reduced because they do not drink large quantities of milk. So nowadays, you see what is happening? Vegan movement, no? And they are saying don't drink milk. So it
because
is all
you cannot drink. They're saying don't. You also don't drink.
Yeah. So they are also not really. In some fashion, people say they are good for us because they are vegetarian. So, but actually, it could be also demons also, no? Who are pushing their agenda where the cow is not worshipped or respected like that. So you should be very careful with that. But it doesn't mean you go tomorrow and buy 2 gallons and drink a lot of milk. It doesn't. You'll have diarrhea and stuff like that. So you have to measure and drink. But the point is, one should drink milk because milk will give you, Prabhupada says, it will give you finer brain tissue to understand spiritual topics. And then Prabhupada says, if you don't drink large quantities of milk, this is a sign of Kali Yuga. And what happens? Instead of drinking milk, people prefer to slaughter an animal and eat its flesh. Which I was explaining the other day. Some people were saying that, they now, they won't, they're not going to have milk anymore. So what will happen? All the farmers will kill the cows because they say, I don't need it. It's a burden. And they won't just release them because cows cannot live on their own. They need someone to take care of them. They cannot be wild. Cows, if the cow is having other milk and there's no calf to drink, she will cry. Therefore, you need the association of the Brahmana to come and help the cow, the Vaishya to come and milk like that. So this is a sign Prabhupada says that people prefer to slaughter an animal and eat its flesh. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his instructions of Bhagavad Gita advises Go Raksha, which means cow protection. Cow should be protected, milk should be drawn from the cows, and this milk should be prepared in various ways. One should take ample milk, and thus one can prolong one's life. But more important is develop his brain, execute devotional service, and ultimately attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is essential to get food grains and water by digging the earth, it is also essential to give protection to the cows and take nectarian milk from their milk bags. But he's emphasizing quite a lot about drinking milk. Of course, if you are lactose intolerant, then you be careful. Yeah. You can take yogurt because the milk can be prepared in different ways, which is what Prabhupada says. But mostly what's happening nowadays is people just want to make money and live a comfortable life. Whatever is popular, they want to follow artificially. Oh, this is a popular sentiment, right? They just want to follow because they want to look cool. But it's very hard, because they don't know what is the goal of life. And so Prabhupada says, Nate viddu svatagatim hi Vishnu. They don't know. Therefore, they work hard in disappointment and frustration. So it falls on us to actually help them. Somehow or other we should advertise. Maybe on the highway you put the big, what is that? Billboards, yeah. Tell them, drink milk. Protect cows and drink milk. Like that. Don't drink alcohol. Ahimsa cow milk.
So I'm wondering what are the different, I think it looks like there are different multiple reasons why people become vegan, like as you said, they are lactose intolerant, they have allergies, right? Or they want to be ahimsa also, like they don't want cow.
Yeah, those are okay. Those people
there are different reasons. So I think
but there are other group of people. No, there are other group of people who actually very demand. They say the cow is a female and we are raping them.
Okay.
These are all the nonsense. Yes. You forcefully making the cow pregnant, so that is rape. So they put up all this in their websites and so on. So all these people are crazy people. Yeah, and then all this group of people join them.
Very superficial.
Oh yeah, they don't even understand. They say the cow should be let go. They should free to roam the country and like that. They say nonsense. If the cow is very disturbed, she will go everybody who's standing there. If she's angry, she'll go people. Nothing, you cannot like go roaming free and gentle. They think the cows are gentle. And these people who talk, they've never dealt with the cows. Right? They don't even go and pet the cows, I think. But that's how it is. There's so many groups like that. They jump on the bandwagon and say, yeah, this is good, but they don't understand. We do it from a spiritual point of view, but they're just doing other sentiment.
In the Starbucks company, there are a disproportionate number of lesbians who work there. They have never been to a farm, they have never been to anything. All they do is PowerPoint and sit on a desk and chat, but somehow or the other they're getting paid. So those are the type of people who are promoting veganism, and so they have no basis actually.
Yeah, they have no. So they come up with their own idea. They think, in Starbucks and like brainstorming some stupid reason to put on there and convince people. And sometimes they do. Prabhupada talks about again the milk products. Again, I want to highlight. So he says the so-called Vaishyas, industrialists or businessmen, are involved in big industrial enterprises. But they are not interested in food grains and milk, which is true, right? They will store them in big, silos. And if it goes bad, they will throw away. But they will never sell it for cheap. However, as indicated here, by digging for water, even in the desert, we can produce food grains. When we produce food grains and vegetables, we can give protection to the cows. While giving protection to the cows, we can draw from them abundant quantities of milk, and by getting enough milk and combining it with food grains and vegetables, we can prepare hundreds of nectarian foods. Now, when he uses the word nectarian foods, it means these are life-giving. That's why he says nectarian food. Very pleasing to the heart. It's like rasayana. Milk is a rasayana.
Actually, there is intense competition in the beverage industry. That milk is just one beverage. There is coconut milk companies, There are,
Soya
of course, the
milk.
soda
Almond milk,
companies,
Soya.
almond milk and
Yeah,
so on.
yeah, yeah.
So they are always trying to increase their sector
Of course.
and destroy other
Yeah,
sector.
yeah. Yeah, but the best is,
Best is milk,
Yeah.
but
the problem with all the people having all these issues, health issues, is because of the way the food is produced,
Hormones are
Genetically modified.
and the milk is not milk anymore because they atomize it, they split the cream from the milk, and it's no more milk. It's something they're selling called milk.
So one of the farms that we went to buy, they had a robot. So they said one person runs this entire farm.
The robot.
He's one man.
So one human being for 4 hours a day. So the cow is trained whenever its udder is full to walk through some bars. It will come and it's called committed. It will stay in that committed zone. Then the machine will come, put laser beam, and say where is the teat, and then it will map to that, and these pipes go and grab it. Milk is coming, and then after no more drops are coming, these all electronic tested. The cow is let go, and if the cow has mastitis or if its cow is limping, one other door opens, and then the cow goes there, and God knows what happens to that, right? Slaughterhouse or whatever. Yeah. So the whole thing is automated. And the person was saying, if the cow doesn't give enough milk, I'm not going to give it enough feed. So they have programmed this robot in such a way, based on output, input is given.
Yeah,
Which cow, and then they tag the cow like that.
They know.
Yeah.
Then they,
So everything is automated, no human interaction. When we went close to the cows were very afraid because they are not used to human touch.
yeah,
So, and what kind of milk will that cow give? And when we drink that, what kind of consciousness we have? That's why the general milk we buy is like, who
Right.
knows what
So
it
the
is.
cows are not happy.
Not at all.
Not at all. Because they're supposed to be a social animal. You're supposed to go there, treat them nicely, and they become very happy.
And then we came to our cow farm, and the cows were so friendly. They come and rub their head against us.
Yeah.
So there's
There's-
heaven and hell difference between the industrial
Actually,
cow and our cow.
If you take care of cows, your mode of goodness will increase naturally. So by denying cow protection and all, the people in the world are becoming ignorant and
They're
impassioned.
killing themselves actually.
That's what's happening.
Producing.
Okay. So this is nectarian food. So Prabhupada says we can happily eat this food and thus avoid industrial enterprises.
Yeah, one of the
and
reasons we should
joblessness.
not buy general milk
Yeah.
is after every batch they use chlorine to wash that big vat. So you are drinking chlorinated milk. Very bad.
Yeah, so we don't buy. So we have to get your own milk and then make sure the milk is properly processed. Okay, so Prabhupada continues, agriculture and cow protection are the way to become sinless and thus be attracted to devotion. Why? Because you come to the mode of goodness. And if you have sin, and he quotes 7.20, and you all know the Esham tu antagata papam. So until you finish with that, it's very hard to take up with determination devotional service, right? Okay. So therefore, it's very important this purport. Go back, you can read again and then try to understand why Prabhupada is emphasizing cow protection and so on.
There's very lot of responsibility also.
Yeah, of course.
I've seen how much effort goes into taking care of one cow.
Not easy. Not easy. All right, so we'll stop here. We'll continue.
30 minutes.
When do we continue? Monday?
Yeah, Monday.
But tomorrow we can't.
Actually, tomorrow
Yeah, tomorrow we can.
till 7 we can do, right? 5:30 to
I said
6.
6 o'clock. Tomorrow starts at 6:15. Class?
No, the program you
Yeah,
said is
6
7.
Tomorrow we set the new time.
Tomorrow? What is going on?
Okay.
The Kirtan.
Can you see the last lines of this verse today?
Okay, that one.
Hare Nam, Hare
Hare
Nam,
Nam,
Hare
Hare
Kevalam. Ends there. So that tells we have to start there.
That ends, so you start there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so with Monday.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I think we'll have to cover up
Unless anybody take a vacation
Saturday,
tomorrow.
Sunday we can do like.
So you say, why did you say Monday? Because Saturday also.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday is
Oh, continuous will be in temple only.
Kirtan. You have your Sankirtan break.
Yeah, we have to go to our Sankirtan.
So that's the that break is accounted.
Kirtan leads to Sankirtan.
So that break, and just otherwise I'll get all these lectures.
I was waiting with the whole 1 hour lecture, Prabhu.